18 minutes after 6, we are having a robust debate in the studio about the budget presentation of the opposition leader Mark Golding this afternoon in the House. I'm Cliff Hughes.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And we were saying during the break, Ricardo,
yes,
that this is the national budget debate.
Yes.
This is a debate that pits our leaders face to face in front of an audience where they tell us about their ideas, their proposals, their command of the issues, and they have to go further. As it says, budget. This is not a high school Burger King sponsored debate, Mr. Brooks. This is not high school business. This is a national business. And Mr. Golding came, yes, and let me give him now, where I think he scored points this afternoon. He came with a range of policy ideas.
Yes.
Yeah, a range. I would have to go into the thing here to bring up all of them. Yeah, but I thought he was strong on the Constitution, as I said. I think he was strong on housing. That rent to own a home, yes, strong. Yeah, but I was there saying, okay, so how much is this now going to cost? You, me, we. I didn't get a word. And what I find particularly, frankly, insulting, yeah, as a Jamaican, yeah, who been through a lot, seen a lot from predecessors of Mr. Golding, we have moved beyond that, where you come and you say these things, yeah, and you expect us to lap it up. No, our politics is, I hope, Mr. Brooks, that our people are a little bit more mature and smart.
And I suspect they are.
Yeah?
I
to
suspect
say,
they
listen
are.
now, yeah, that sounds good, but what is it going to cost us, Marky G? How are you going to finance it? That is what was glaringly absent.
I agree with you. And I suspect, I suspect, as I said, that the voter is now discerning, because as he made the announcement, I usually just do some social media listening to see what the immediate feedback is. And the matter of cost was one of the most prominent questions. And I think
very good.
A consequence of our decade of fiscal stability is that the Jamaican people are demanding those answers. And so for me now, it is to be seen whether under that scrutiny, Mr. Golding actually have backative, whether there's substance behind the announcements. That being said, as I said before the break, I'm not going to dismiss him out of hand.
No,
let us know.
We're not doing that.
So right. So let us now.
I'm certainly not doing that.
So let us now go down the road of hearing the Prime Minister respond and say to Mr. Golding, that don't make sense, that don't make sense, here are the reasons it doesn't make sense, and have Mr. Golding defend it. That way, when that time comes, we really have an informed choice.
I would like to go back, gentlemen, to 2015.
Yeah.
Just before those, what I would call those seminal general elections, Jamaica...
2016.
2016. Jamaica was just about to emerge out of what had been, at the time, one of the worst economic crises the country faced. And you recall that promise by the Prime Minister that I think the entirety of those elections pivoted around, that $1.5 million promise.
Yes.
The day it was announced, you had enough people sitting there wondering, how is this going to be costed? What is your expectation? And I believe it was Audisha who had to come down, sit down and tell the Jamaican people, this is what we intend to do to fulfill this promise. And I hope that is what flows now from these budget debates today, because I think that is the tone that is expected now going forward in terms of a budget debate. But I'm concerned because, as you say, Ricardo, times have changed, and what Mr. Golding has put forward are ideas. But in the auspice of the House of Representatives, in the auspice of the budget debate,
the national
I
budget
expect this, as you put it, this change in the electorate should be reflected in how our leaders handle these circumstances. And what I saw from Mr. Robinson and Mr. Golding is not an appreciation of those changes in the expectation of the electorate, but more the going back to the PJ style and Omar Davies promises of our pothole free in 2003, and I don't like it. But this is a personal thing because I'm required to look through that book every year.
Fair.
And look
I
at
have a
what
question.
the government is doing and make sense of whether it is factual, credible, or sustainable. But I'm not given that opportunity when assessing the opposition leader's speech, and I believe the country should be expecting that.
Fair. Would you both agree with me that in this setting that he had today, he had a dual role, right? Yes, the technical, sound, higher order ideas need to be fleshed out, but also that he had a political message to deliver. Would you agree with that?
Of course.
That's an expectation.
All right.
Yes.
Would you agree with me that he delivered the latter effectively?
Yes.
Yes.
He would have gained some points today.
And
He
gentlemen,
provided ideas as promises, and I don't
and
like
so gentlemen,
that.
And so gentlemen, that's part of my assessment.
You didn't say that.
No, but it has to be. It has to be.
You didn't say that.
He's actively campaigning to become prime minister.
You tried to lower the bar.
No. I reject that. Categorically reject that. He is vying
lowered the
to
bar.
become prime minister. That's a part of the calculation.
Yes, but you can make the case. He would have been far more
But then
effective.
it's an imbalanced calculation.
Yes, it would have been far more effective, to say, listen, here is the big picture. Here is a vision. Yeah? What he dubbed the champion of change. Yeah? I got those imagery trying to come through. Yeah? But we are now a more intelligent electorate. We want to hear you speak to the vision and how you're going to do it. Yeah? He fell well short of the how. But he definitely looked and sounded like a national leader. Yeah? But you can't cut it if you're not talking about the how.
And recall that this...
Stop by pussing a bag.
I recall the opposition leader, in the same breath, accused the government of selling forward many of the country's assets to fund the budget now. And I don't know if you can put that in the same balance with a speech where you're making so many grandiose promises without an aspect of giving to the Jamaican people how you intend to fund them.
Yeah.
Well, let us go to some of the
highlights.
Yes,
because that we said he started.
Yeah, I think the issue of the housing. Yeah, I think that to me was the strongest of the ideas that we heard from Mark Golding today. Books, if you go back to the news, right, the fourth story in the news, where he pledged to dramatically increase access to affordable housing in the country. Among those plans of his is a $1 billion loan facility for young first-time buyers.
We recognize that often the hardest hurdle for young people in buying a home is the deposit. Well, young people, we have you in mind. Yes. The next PNP government will establish a special Young Owners Deposit Fund of $1 billion within the NHT. Yes. Using those NHT resources to enable young persons under 35 years of age to access $500,000 towards their deposit once they have been an NHT contributor for 2 years or more.
Mr. Golding vowed to end the annual transfer of $11 billion from the National Housing Trust to the Consolidated Fund. The program of NHT drawdowns was initially implemented, you may recall, by the previous PNP administration, but was continued under the current Holness government. Golding also promised that a future PNP government will absorb the insurance payments for NHT loans for low-income earners. He also put forward a rent-to-own initiative through the NHT. He says the scheme will allow persons who cannot save enough to pay the deposit to buy a house. They'll be able to rent an NHT house under the NHT rent-to-own program. He says once a specified portion of the rent payments add up to the deposit, they will be treated as having paid it and can access a mortgage for the balance to buy a house.
Many people earn their living in the informal sector in Jamaica, and they are not able to produce a payslip to establish their income. Many other people have formal employment, but they end up paying rent because they cannot afford to save for the deposit to pay down on a house. We will roll out the NHT rent-to-own plan to address these two situations. A person earning in the informal economy who can't produce a payslip but who wants to buy an NHT house will be able to go into possession as a tenant, paying a monthly rent equivalent to a mortgage loan payment.
That's right.
And by establishing their ability to pay over a relatively short period of time, they will then be deemed eligible to access the mortgage loan from the NHT to buy the house. Having established proof of payment, they don't need to produce a payslip.
So like that. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a big idea. My obvious question is, what is the means of verification? So you say you work in the informal economy. What do you use to verify what the income level is, how much you earn? Or is it that you just come and present yourself and say, I'm in the informal economy, I want to access this NHT rent-to-own initiative? Those details are necessary. Yeah?
But more concerning is, if you're in the informal economy without a payslip, how do you then go to the NHT to guarantee that you will be able to make those rent payments?
Yeah. So there are several questions.
So there will have to be some method of showing income.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily through a payslip,
But
through
some
a
other
partner,
way. Yeah.
through a bank account.
Perhaps a bank statement. Maybe.
But if you have a bank account, wouldn't that suggest then that you've
some
made
kind of
steps to be
formalized-
in the formal
yeah.
economy?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And what I think was good about Golding, some of the ideas coming from both Golding and Robinson, is that some level of thinking and thought, had gone on in how to deal with the nitty-gritty problems that people on the margins are having, small, medium-sized micro-entrepreneurs. Yeah, for example, Robinson's idea about the removal of the corporate income tax and making it easier for small entrepreneurs to access the DBJ loans. I think they got down to that micro level, which tells me that they are being forced to think now. Yeah,
Think through the problem.
yes, and come to the party, come to the table. But they have work to do. They started too late.
Let's take a break. Come back with more.